Hi everyone, Nick here. Today I'm going to talk about the Best Choice Products raised steel garden bed. I purchased this on Amazon for around $120. It's 4 foot by 8 foot and 2 foot deep. This particular color is dark gray, but it comes in a variety of colors. So this is how it came shipped. I'm going to start opening it up and I'll show you the inside and we'll work through building it. Okay, you can see here when I open the box, we have the contents nicely packaged and protected from any damage on the color coding. You have a little help guide here. This is a rubber gasket that goes around the top of the steel to prevent yourself from cutting yourself. You have the 4 corner pieces and you have the crossbars that support it in the middle because it's so long. And then you have your 4-foot sections here on the bottom. So I'll unpack this thing and separate everything out so you can see it. Okay, so I've laid everything out for you all to see. You can see here you have your 2 end pieces, your corner pieces, your middle bracket, your 4 sections that go along the sides, and you have your instruction booklet, your rubber gasket. These here are stakes that you stake the entire thing into the ground with. We have wing nuts and bolts that put this thing together. Now, online it'll tell you that you can do this by hand. However, I highly recommend you use a Phillips screwdriver or drill because it makes it so much faster. Okay, before we start assembling, there's a few things to note. I noticed these when I put together the first one. This is actually the second one I'm putting together, but these are important things to know beforehand. So although this is a 8x4 raised garden bed, the end panels are exactly 4 feet, but the side panels are a little longer, and that's because they have to go into that notch over there on the side corner pieces. So that's why it's important to first, take out the end pieces and set them next to each other to make sure you have the right end pieces. Now, when you open the box, they're the very top 2 panels, so it's easy to find them. So that's a good point to note. Second thing is these corner pieces. You can see the bottom has a hole in it. You can see that hole? And that is to put those stakes to stake the entire thing into the ground. So when you're piecing it together, it's important that you do it with that hole at the bottom. You don't want to do it the other way and then you realize the hole's at the top and then you have to redo everything. So that's another very important thing to note. Lastly, there is a protective plastic on these pieces that peels off. It's just like a static sticker. I don't recommend taking it off before you start. However, I do recommend peeling it away from the holes, because as you put this thing together, if you forget to do that, it's hard to get it out from underneath all the bolts and stuff, and it's just a real pain. So before you get started, peel all these back a bit and then start from there. Okay, we're gonna get started in just a sec here. There's one last thing I wanted to point out. So you can see the tops and the bottoms of these panels are the same. They both look exactly the same. So you don't really have to worry what side's top, what side's bottom. However, you do have to think about what side should go outward facing, and that is the side with the plastic on it. So obviously we don't really care about the inside being scratched, but the outside we do. So when you're putting this together, make sure the plastic side is facing outward. Okay, so we're going to get started on putting together the end pieces. So this is all following the instruction book. Like I said, I've done one of these before, so I'm familiar with the setup. But things I recommend, because I'm putting this together by myself, I'm using a heavy box on the other side to hold this up. You can see that will hold this thing straight up and down to assist me with assembling. I have my plastic facing outwards, as I discussed a second ago. So I know that this is the inside. Then I'm going to take my corner piece. I'm going to line up the holes. So you want to make sure you line up the holes all the way down. You have to kind of lift that one into the slot. And then once you have it aligned, you just start inserting the screws. So I'll do a couple for you to see. Okay, hopefully you can see good. I'm going to assemble this corner side. So you just take the bolt, stick it through the hole, and just start screwing on your wing nut. Now again, the assembly of this, you don't really need any tools, but you definitely want to tighten these because hand tight is not going to be sufficient for what you need as far as holding this thing together when there's a bunch of soil inside of it. So yeah, you just work your way down. There's 8 on each side. So the very first step is to put together these corner pieces. So you put this corner piece together, you go on the other side, you put the other corner piece together, and then we'll go from there. Okay, you can see I've assembled both end pieces now fully, and I've tightened them down with my drill. So important things to note again are the sticker side is facing outward. Also that the holes are at the bottom so that you can stake these into the ground. Now if you do accidentally put one of the sides with the hole upwards, don't panic, because like I said, the top edge and the bottom edge are the same. So just flip the whole thing around, keeping the sticker side on the outside, and then your hole will be at the bottom. However, if you do one with the hole at the top and the other one with the hole at the bottom, then you're going to have to take one of them off and flip it. So just keep that in mind. So we've got both of the end pieces done. That's the very first step in the instructions. So next we will add a side piece here, a side piece here. We'll go to that side piece there, side piece there. So that's the very next step, is to add on those 4 side pieces. One other thing to note, when you're tightening these bolts, these heads are very fine, so make sure you don't put too much pressure or power with your drill, because it will strip them. So just do enough to make sure it's tight and secure, but not too much. Okay, I will add on the sides and we'll get back. Okay, when doing these side panels, it's the same process as you did for the end panels. You just make sure that the sticker side is on the outside, and make sure to peel back the sticker, like I mentioned, away from the holes. That way you don't have to deal with that later once you've bolted it down. And that's it really. You put in your 8 screws there. You go to the other side, put in your 8 screws there, and then you move to the other end of the bed. So let me do that and I'll show you how it looks at the end. Okay, you can see I've gotten both end pieces completed. So the next step in the process is to connect these at the middle. However, there's some things to note before you do this, very important. So before I mentioned that you should peel back the plastic before you do the screws, and you can see I've done that all the way around. However, I have not done it here, and the reason being is these edges are actually fairly sharp. The tops are folded over, so they're not sharp, but these, if you rub really hard, you could cut yourself. They're not super bad. I feel like they've been kind of polished down a bit, but they will scratch the metal. So I've left the sticker on here on both sides temporarily, so that when I piece these together, it doesn't scratch all this up when I'm trying to align these. Now once I've got them aligned and I don't have to move them very much, I'll peel back the stickers before I put in the bolts. But just keep that in mind that this will scratch up the outside as you're moving these around. The other thing to keep in mind, before you bolt these together, it tells you in the instructions to leave the first, the fourth, and the seventh hole empty. And the reason being is the crossbars will go across those holes. So again, don't put all your bolts in yet. Leave the first, fourth, and seventh empty, and then that's when you'll add in your cross bolts, but I'll show you that in a second. Okay, as you can see, I've got the bolts in, leaving the first, fourth, and seventh empty. And that leads us to our next step, which is putting these center braces in between these here. Now, some of the reviews on Amazon for this said that this was hard to bend, but it's really not. It's a really lightweight aluminum. So what you do is you just push this down like this, and do the same thing on the other side, and then you'll line it up with those holes. You'll put your bolts and your wing nut through, and that'll secure it. Now, when I did this the first time, I was curious to know whether I should do it like this or do it the opposite way like this. My brain tells me to do it like this. However, the instructions say to do it like this. So I followed the instructions. It may not matter which way you put it, but when I put these center braces in, I did it with this side facing up as the instructions show. So I'm going to go ahead and put these together and show you what it looks like. Okay, so there we have it. We have our cross braces on the first, fourth, and seventh hole. One thing I did not do is I didn't fully tighten these bolts on either side. And the reason I didn't do that obviously is because, pushing these in, you need a little bit of flex. So keep that in mind. Don't drill tight those down until after you put the crossbars on. That'll help you with getting these in. So we have one final step, and then the assembly will be complete. Okay, the final step. So the last step is to put this rubber gasket along the very top edges of the entire bed. Before you get started though, make sure you peel the sticker down a bit, because if you don't and you put it on and you try to peel the sticker off later, it might pop it off. So if there's a bit of sticker up towards the top, kind of peel it down a bit all the way around. And then you just open up your roll. I recommend getting a pair of pretty strong scissors. These are kitchen shears, so they're a little stronger than normal shears. And then just take your rubber gasket and run it along the side and just push down and go all the way around. Now at each corner, obviously you're gonna have to cut, pieces, but once it's done, it'll be very nice and sturdy, and you won't run the risk of, falling on it or something like that. But regardless, even if you don't do this, like I said before, this edge is folded over, so it's not very abrasive, and you're not likely to cut yourself. But this is just an additional safety feature that they provide in the kit. So I'll go ahead and do that, and once completed, I'll show you how it looks at the end. Okay, the rim protector has been put on all the way around. Really the only trouble it gives you is right here where the two metals overlap. You kind of got to wrap it around better and push hard, but other than that, it's a very simple step. You can probably tell by the bottom that there's no bottom on these beds, and that's, I find, a good feature, because if you ever need to move them, you can just pick them up and move them without having to, take soil out or anything like that. But yeah, overall, I'd say If you're doing this by yourself like I did, I would set aside a solid hour to do it. With 2 people, obviously it'd be quicker. But yeah, it's well worth it. I'll take this outside and I'll show you kind of the finished product. You're probably wondering, why did you assemble it inside? Why not just assemble it where you're going to put it? The reason being is, if you've ever spent any time in East Tennessee, it's very windy. So these will blow all the way around, and it'll just be a nightmare to put together outside. Additionally, it snowed the other day, so it's a bit cold out. But if you don't mind those conditions, then you can absolutely put this thing together outside. So again, I'll show you the what it looks like. The first one I did, all filled up, and show you how nice it looks. Okay, here is the final product. What I did was I put a layer of weed mesh to prevent weeds from growing up down first, and then I put some cedar mulch around it, just to give it some spacing. I'll have 2 more of these I'm putting right next to this one, but you can tell it's pretty solid. This dirt's been in here probably 2 weeks now. I haven't planted yet because it's still too cold, but a lot of people might be asking, why did you choose to get the 2-foot deep one? And honestly, the reason for me was it's less bending over. You know, when I was in my 20s, it's no big deal, but you know, pushing up into my 40s, I prefer not to have to get real low. So, yep, chose the 2-foot. Additionally, if you're growing any root crops like carrots and things like that, you want the additional soil. I believe most crops, their roots are 12 to 16 inches, so you can get by with one of the foot deep ones, which is shallower and cheaper. But yeah, I just personally preferred the 2 feet deep ones. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. This is my very first video for the channel, so I'm open to improvement. Please let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.